They said no one could survive on Erython 9, but here we were, standing on its fractured, glowing soil, daring to prove them wrong. The air shimmered with charged particles, and distant storms painted the sky in hues of violet and gold. This place, a graveyard of a lost civilization, was as beautiful as it was unforgiving. Yet beneath its surreal beauty lay unanswered questions and hidden dangers waiting to devour the unprepared. How does a planet die? Is it in a single catastrophic moment, or in a slow, agonizing decay brought on by its inhabitants? The answer was both. Erython 9 had once thrived, its people masters of technology and nature, but their ambition outpaced their wisdom. When they sought to reshape the forces of their world, they unraveled its balance, leaving behind a broken ecosystem and remnants of a story no one wanted to repeat. The Orionis Zenith Institute had chosen this place for a reason. The surviving fragments of Erython's history were a puzzle, one meant to teach the galaxy's brightest minds about the fragility of progress. For us students, however, it felt like a cruel initiation. We were tasked with surviving a week in this unpredictable wasteland, armed with only basic supplies and our wits. Kyle Torvaris adjusted the straps of his backpack, his gaze scanning the jagged horizon. Beside him, Thyra Venari secured a hydration pack to her exosuit, her translucent skin glistening under the planet's twin suns. The group was a mix of species, each bringing unique strengths and weaknesses. Relmac Drorak, towering over the others, sniffed the air, his color-shifting carapace dimming to a cautious gray. Their instructor, Lerix Saivan, stood at the forefront, his eyes fixed on the ruins in the distance. "The first lesson is simple," he said, his voice cutting through the crackling wind. "Respect this place, or it will destroy you." Kyle's heart pounded as the group began their journey, the weight of Erython 9 pressing down on them like a silent threat. The group's footsteps crunched against the cracked crystalline ground as they moved deeper into the desolate landscape. The air carried an eerie stillness, interrupted only by the occasional hum of distant electrical storms. Kale couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, though the planet seemed devoid of any life capable of such a thing. Relmac Drorak's towering form took the lead, his carapace shifting to a mottled green as his senses heightened. "This place smells wrong," he muttered, his voice a low rumble. Thyra Venari's delicate frame moved more cautiously, her hydration pack sloshing softly as she surveyed the area. "It's not just the smell," she replied, her multifaceted eyes glinting. "The energy here, it's chaotic. Nothing is in balance." Lerix Sivan turned sharply, his piercing gaze silencing any further commentary. "Focus. The ruins are our destination. You've been briefed on the dangers, but this place doesn't abide by rules. It reacts. Hesitation will kill you faster than anything else here." Kyle adjusted his backpack, trying to ignore the heavy knot forming in his stomach. His gaze shifted to the horizon, where the ruins loomed like jagged teeth against the sky. The group pressed on, their tension growing with each step. As they approached the outskirts of the ruins, strange patterns became visible in the shattered ground, intricate designs etched into the earth as if by a massive hand. "These aren't natural," Thyra whispered, kneeling to trace one of the markings. It pulsed faintly under her touch, sending a ripple of energy through the ground. "Back!" Lerix barked, yanking her away as a low vibration spread through the area. The ground began to shift, crystalline shards rising and rearranging into structures that hadn't been there moments ago. Kyle stared, wide-eyed, as the ruins seemed to wake up around them. "What the hell is this?" he muttered. "It's the planet," Lerix answered grimly, "and it's watching us. What would you do if you were standing in the ruins of a planet that destroyed itself? Would you risk everything to uncover its secrets, or turn back before it's too late? If this story has you intrigued, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more thrilling sci-fi adventures. The journey is just beginning, and we need you with us every step of the way. The ruins came alive in a way that defied explanation. Towering crystalline spires rearranged themselves with a deliberate grace, casting shifting shadows over the group. Pulses of energy coursed through the etchings on the ground, forming patterns that looked eerily like symbols, though none Kale could recognize. "Is this some kind of warning?" Thyra asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's more than that," Relmac rumbled, his carapace deepening to a defensive black. "This isn't random. It's trying to tell us something." Leric Sivan stepped forward, his hand gripping a small device strapped to his waist. The Kel'Thas species was known for their analytical minds, but even he seemed unnerved. "Stay close and keep moving. This reaction might be residual energy from the terraformers, or something else entirely. Either way, it's not our concern." "Not yet." Kyle exchanged a glance with Thera, who looked unconvinced but obeyed. The group followed Lerix into the labyrinthine ruins, the crystalline walls towering around them. The etchings continued to shift, pulsating faintly as if alive. Kyle couldn't shake the feeling that the ruins were studying them, responding to their movements. After an hour of cautious progress, they arrived at what appeared to be a central plaza. A massive circular platform lay at its center, with 3 towering obelisks surrounding it. Each obelisk emitted a low, rhythmic hum that resonated in Kyle's chest. "What is this place?" he asked, his voice breaking the heavy silence. "A control nexus," Lerix answered, his gaze fixed on the obelisks. "This would have been the heart of the terraformers' operations. If we can understand this structure, we'll learn how Erython 9 fell." Thyra approached one of the obelisks cautiously, her fingertips brushing its surface. It responded instantly, projecting a flickering hologram of alien script into the air. "It's a record," she said, her voice tinged with awe. But before anyone could react further, the ground beneath them trembled violently. The obelisks flared brighter, and a deep, resonant voice, ancient and mechanical, echoed through the ruins. "Who dares disturb the legacy of Erython?" The voice reverberated through the plaza, ancient and commanding, as if the ruins themselves were speaking. The group froze, their collective breaths caught in their throats. Kyle felt his knees weaken under the weight of the sound. It wasn't just heard, it was felt, like a wave pressing against his very being. Thyra stumbled back from the obelisk she had touched, her multifaceted eyes wide. "It's sentient," she whispered, her voice trembling. Leric Sivan quickly stepped forward, his analytical mind racing to regain control of the situation. "Sentient or not, it's reacting to us. Stay alert. Do not engage unless necessary." The obelisks pulsed in response, their glow intensifying as the voice returned, now layered with an almost sorrowful tone. "You tread upon sacred ground. You awaken a memory long buried. Why have you come?" Relmac's carapace shimmered with streaks of gold, a sign of his unease. "We should leave. Whatever this is, it's not part of the training." Kale found himself unable to look away from the towering structures. The holograms now projected images, shifting scenes of Erython 9 in its prime. Towering cities, floated above lush landscapes, its people moving gracefully amidst shimmering architecture. Then the images darkened. A crackling storm consumed the skies, cities crumbled, and the planet's surface fractured into the desolation they now walked upon. "We came to learn," Kyle blurted, surprising even himself. His voice was steady despite the terror coursing through him. "To understand what happened here, we're students." The ruins fell silent for a moment. Then the voice returned, its tone colder, almost accusatory. "Students of what? Destruction. You carry the same arrogance that condemned us." The ground trembled again, and crystalline spires began rising around the plaza, forming a cage-like barrier. Thyra gasped, backing into Kale as the obelisks flared brighter. "We have to get out of here," Thyra said, panic lacing her voice. "No," Lyric said firmly. "This is an opportunity. The Nexus is active. It wants to teach us something, if we can survive long enough to understand." The crystalline spires closed in, their jagged edges glowing faintly as if charged by an unseen force. The hum from the obelisks deepened, vibrating through the ground. Kyle gritted his teeth as a wave of energy passed over him, sending chills up his spine. The voice returned, sharp and unyielding. "You seek understanding, yet you lack the wisdom to wield it. Prove your worth, or be cast aside like the others." "Others," Relmac rumbled, his gaze darting between the rising spires. "What does it mean by that?" Thyra's translucent skin shimmered as she scanned the holograms, her hands trembling. "It's not just a record of their destruction. It's a warning. The ruins aren't just a remnant of the past. They're a trial." Lyric Sivan stepped to the center of the platform, his calm demeanor masking his own growing unease. "This trial isn't just for us. It's been repeating itself for centuries." He gestured to the obelisks. "Each activation draws in those who dare to explore Erython 9. Some survive. Most do not." Kale's heart pounded as the spires began to emit beams of light, forming intricate patterns in the air. "Then what do we do? Stand here and hope we're one of the lucky ones?" "No," Lyric said firmly, his eyes narrowing as he studied the symbols forming above them. "We engage. The Nexus operates on logic, patterns, and responses. If we can decode its intentions, we can survive." The obelisks shifted, projecting symbols faster now. Thyra recognized them first. Mathematical equations, astronomical charts, and fragments of alien script. "It's testing us," she said, stepping forward despite the growing tension. Kyle grabbed her arm. "Testing us how?" "By seeing who. You panics first?" "No," she said, shaking her head. "It's asking for something, a sequence, an answer, or maybe just an acknowledgement." Before anyone could respond, the spires began to pulse in unison, and the voice roared with an edge of finality. "Prove your worth or perish with the forgotten," Lyric shouted. "Focus! Solve the pattern, or this becomes our grave." The air grew heavy as the crystalline spires pulsed in unison, their glow intensifying with each cycle. The symbols hovering above the obelisks flickered faster, forming patterns too complex to decipher at a glance. Thyra's fingers danced through the projections, her mind racing to make sense of the data. "These equations, they're mapping something," she muttered, her voice strained. "Star charts, planetary alignments, it's all connected." Kyle crouched beside her, sweat beading on his forehead. "Connected to what? We don't even know what it wants." Lyric's commanding voice cut through the tension. "Think! The Nexus was built to regulate the terraformers. If the planet's balance was destroyed, then these patterns might hold the key to reversing that damage." Relmac's carapace flared with streaks of red as he paced near the edge of the platform. "And if we get it wrong?" he asked, his voice a low growl. "We won't," Thyra snapped, though the tremor in her tone betrayed her uncertainty. She adjusted a projection, aligning two sets of charts. A low hum rippled through the plaza, as if the Nexus was acknowledging her attempt. Kyle noticed something in the shifting holograms, a recurring motif that appeared across multiple patterns. "Wait," he said, pointing to the symbol. It looks like a gravitational waveform." Thyra's eyes widened in realization. Of course, the planet's collapse wasn't just ecological, it was gravitational instability. The terraformers must have disrupted the core's balance. The symbols began to slow, condensing into a singular equation. Lyrics stepped forward, his expression grim. "This is it. Whatever the Nexus is asking, this is the answer it demands." Relmac's voice rumbled. "And if it's wrong?" Kyle met his gaze, his voice steady despite the fear clawing at him. Then we're already dead. Thyra entered the sequence, her hands trembling. For a moment nothing happened. Then a low, resonant tone filled the air as the spires emitted beams of light into the sky, forming an immense lattice of energy. The voice returned, softer, but still filled with authority. You have answered, but your trial is not yet complete. The ground shook violently, and the lattice began to expand, stretching toward the horizon. What now? Kyle shouted, barely keeping his footing. Now, Lyric said grimly, we see if we've earned this planet's forgiveness. The energy lattice stretched across the sky, casting an intricate web of light over the ruins. Kyle shielded his eyes, the brilliance almost overwhelming. Did we do it? He asked, his voice tight with uncertainty. No, Thyra replied, her tone sharp. This isn't the end. The lattice is a response. It's still assessing us. Above them, the lattice shifted, projecting massive holograms into the air. Towering cities floated amidst pristine landscapes, their beauty mesmerizing. Then came the collapse. Storms engulfed the cities. Fissures split the planet's surface, and the once thriving civilization was reduced to ruin. It's recreating their destruction, Thyra said softly, her voice trembling. Kyle pointed to the holograms, his heart pounding. No, it's showing us what caused it. Those machines, terraformers, they pushed the planet too far, they broke it. The lattice dimmed and the voice returned, cold and unyielding. Ambition without restraint leads to ruin. Will you repeat our mistakes, or will you learn? Holograms of schematics appeared around the group, ancient devices and encrypted diagrams. Thyra studied them, her hands trembling. It's offering a solution. We can stabilize the planet, but it's a gamble. If we fail, we share their fate. Relmac finished grimly, his carapace darkening. The group stood in tense silence. Finally, Kyle stepped forward, his gaze unwavering. Then we can't fail. The lattice pulsed, its energy surging as the planet's final challenge began. The air pulsed with energy as the lattice above them began to shift, its glowing strands twisting and coiling into a tighter, more chaotic pattern. The schematics floating before the group flickered, demanding immediate action. Time was slipping away, and the planet's balance hung on the brink of collapse. Kyle's hands shook as he worked alongside Thyra, trying to decode the instructions from the holograms. This system, it's fragmented, Thyra muttered, her voice taut with frustration. The terraformers left it unfinished. We'll have to improvise. Improvising on a planet that kills civilizations, Relmac growled. Great plan. Lyric stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. Focus. The lattice responds to intent. This is about more than fixing the system. It's about showing the planet we understand its pain. Kyle hesitated, the weight of Lyric's words settling heavily on him. Its pain. Thyra glanced at him, her multifaceted eyes reflecting the lattice's glow. The terraformers didn't just destroy the environment. They scarred the planet itself. This nexus isn't just a machine, it's alive in its own way. The lattice flared brighter, its energy now chaotic and volatile. Cracks began to form along the plaza's crystalline floor. Relmac braced himself as the ground trembled. Whatever you're going to do, do it now. Kyle stared at the holograms, his mind racing. It's not just about stabilizing the planet. We need to reset its core, to give it time to heal. Thyra nodded, rapidly inputting the sequence. Resetting means cutting the terraformers' influence entirely. If we do this, the planet will rebuild itself naturally, or it could collapse completely. Kyle reached for the final command, his heart pounding. We can't keep letting fear decide for us. He activated the sequence. The lattice exploded in a cascade of light, spreading across the horizon. The trembling stopped, and a deafening silence followed. Slowly, the planet's energy began to settle. The lattice dissolved, leaving only faint traces in the sky. Larix exhaled deeply, his gaze fixed on the horizon. You gave it a chance to start over. Whether it forgives us or not, that's up to it now. The group stood in silence, the weight of their actions sinking in as the ruins returned to stillness. Somewhere deep within Erython 9, life stirred once more. Erython 9 was given a second chance, but will we learn from its mistakes before? It's too late for us. The choice is ours. If this story resonated with you, hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking tales. And remember, sometimes survival isn't about strength, it's about wisdom.